To welcome everybody to our work session. So we have a work session, then we have a policy session coming up a little bit later. So you're welcome, you're welcome to stay, but just so you know that this is a work session right now. And,
Oh, no TV's on.
oh, yeah. Well, hopefully they'll get up here and just, Alina, why don't you go ahead and come up? We're going to start, we have a presentation from the Bear River Valley Coalition. Alina Pierce is going to talk to us about some of the things that we've been doing there and some of the accomplishments and everything. And we, do you need a presentation? Do a present? Okay, so we'll let you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and hopefully we'll get this presentation up and so you can get started.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Turn the time over to you.
So as Mayor mentioned, my name's Alina Pierce. I work for the Bear River Health Department. I think I've been here a couple of times and met most of you. I have worked at I've worked in public health for 25 years, worked at Brigham Community Hospital for 10 before that. So I've been at the Bear River Health Department for about 22 of those years, and they've taken very good care of me, and I really appreciate them and hope that they don't change their mind and get rid of me, because I've really enjoyed being able to work on public health projects and prevention mostly throughout my career. But tonight I'm here to present a little bit about our Bear River Valley Coalition. It's a new coalition that's been put into place up here in our area. The name is not 100% solid yet. We actually have a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to discuss that a little bit further, but that's so far what we're referring to ourselves as, which just describes the area that we will be serving. So northern Box Elder County, any of the communities that feed into Bear River High School. So that's kind of some explanation there. And then I'll just have Cynthia go ahead and advance the slide. Really tonight what I'm here to talk about is just a little bit of history about the health department's efforts for the last couple of decades, honestly, regarding prevention and building strength in our community. I'll talk a little bit about the prevention framework that we use, and then also one of the main strategies, the social development strategy that we utilize, and I'll do a little bit of explanation. It's very simple, and it's really interesting and makes so much sense to me. And then I will just give a little bit of highlights on next steps and what we plan on doing as we move forward with this group. So a community coalition is not anything new. As you can see from this slide, there are a number of prevention coalitions across the state. And when I say prevention coalitions, most of the time that refers to substance abuse prevention. So it's working with youth and working with families. But the history of my career, I've worked in suicide prevention, and I still do. Also injury prevention, car seats, seat belts, cardiovascular disease, diabetes prevention. But the main focus of this prevention group will be to focus on building strength, building positive connections, which I know that you all support very strongly, and then just making sure that people see all of the wonderful, great things that are going on in the community and are tied into resources that are available. So as you can see, this framework, this process is happening across our state and really across our nation, and that's because prevention science shows that when we get a group of people together in the community and we work with them instead of at them, that we have a lot more opportunity for success and growth. So just to give a little bit of history, Box Elder has had a coalition in place for a couple of decades, since before I was with the health department, so about 25 years. And the name of that coalition is called the Box Elder Safe Communities Coalition, and it was designed to serve the entire county. And it has done that, but we've always had the desire to be able to provide a more localized approach for up here. Quite frankly, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in Morgan, and so I understand, and I live in Willard currently, so I understand that small towns work a little bit different, and the Box Elder Safe Communities again, serving the whole community, we have a group of key leaders that are some from all areas amongst the county that kind of help provide direction, support, and feedback to us. And then as we move forward, the Safe Communities Community Board, which does more of the boots on the ground kind of work, will serve Box Elder communities that feed into Box Elder High School, where our newer coalition will serve, as I mentioned, the Bear River Valley and the communities that fall under Bear River High School. So we have been doing work out in this area all along with the Box Elder Safe Communities Coalition. These are just some examples of some of the things that we've done. You'll see a couple of pictures there of Kent's Foods. We did Kent's Foods both in Brigham City and in Tremonton, and we brought the Parents Empowered campaign. I don't know if any of you have noticed the signage. Parents Empowered campaign is a statewide campaign that focuses on helping parents, supporting parents in their conversation with kids about the dangers of alcohol use. So then you'll see also a couple of pictures from some of our parks, Jeannie Stevens Park, and then I can't remember the name of the other park with the baseball buoy there. But we have had other signage at some of the other parks. And in that bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a photo actually where we sponsored and helped create and build and covered the expense to put in to help the youth at the Boys and Girls Club over there in Garland. So those are some garden plots that we helped put together. And that little teeny plaque there actually gives a little bit of credit also to Ann Henderson, who we worked with for years and years and years and dearly loved. But we found it fitting. We put together this salsa garden so the kids could grow the vegetables and then have their own little opportunity to do some salsa. So those are just a couple of examples of some things that we've done across the years. Back in the spring, pardon me, of this year, right when we were first starting the coalition efforts, I felt it was really, really important to come out and celebrate some of the wonderful, amazing things that are already happening in our community. We're not saying that we're coming out to save the day. We're coming out to say that we are excited to be able to support and help grow and be part of the wonderful efforts that are already happening. We have received some funding that some of it is from the county dollars that we received from the opioid settlement. And that's what is allowing us to do more of this work. But the Shine Your Light celebration was really fun. I hope the mayor can contest to that. We were able to spotlight some individuals in our community. You can see the picture there of them. Anywhere from school principals to staff at Kent's Market to Boys and Girls Club staff, and then also members of the Box Elder School District, School Board rather, and then Kiwanis here in Tremont. So all of them were doing some really amazing things supporting the youth in our community, the youth and families in our community. So we are really excited, and we designed this event with the hopes that we would continue to do this year after year. I've already received a nomination for someone for this coming spring. And so if any of you have individuals or groups that you would like to nominate, I'll give my contact information here in a little bit, but please send me any kind of suggestions that you have, and we'll incorporate them into that nomination process. So we did the Shine Your Light celebration in March, and then throughout the summer months, we did several community board orientations. That's just an example of one of the agendas. So it was really designed to provide information about this prevention coalition process, what it looks like, how we roll it out, what the expectations of members, what we expect of them, what expectations they have of us, and the work that we want to do. Like, we want to be meet them where they're at and help fulfill some of the needs that they have as well. So that's just an example of one of the orientations that we did. And then I mentioned briefly the social development strategy. This is really an interesting, but again, simple, which helps me understand because I'm kind of simple-minded. But I really appreciate how this strategy works. You can see there just from the graphic that it basically works to build individual characteristics, laying out a path or a foundation, working towards healthy behavior so that kids are healthy in their young years, but they develop really healthy habits so they grow and continue to incorporate those into their adult years and also probably into the next generation as they raise families. So you can see those little teeny graphs. It's kind of small to see, but a big part of what that process does is really try to support bonding, not only within the family unit, in the neighborhoods, in the school setting, and just across the community, helping kids feel connected to adults that are going to support them and provide healthy examples for them. Also sharing and supporting parents and helping them develop clear standards, clear expectations for the kids so that they just go along that path stronger and stronger and incorporate those healthy behaviors into their life. And then onto the, I guess, the left side, really the foundation for the social development strategy is what I like to refer to as SOAR, S-O-R. That's how I spell. Sorry, no reflection on Morgan schools. But skills, opportunities, and recognition. So building skills, teaching skills, growing skills, and then providing tangible skills, like things like working in the garden, walking the dog for your neighbor, helping pick up trash during neighborhood trash pickup days, whatever it might be, but developing skills and then providing them opportunities to practice those skills. And then important step is providing them specific recognition of what they did that really mattered, how it contributed to the community, and how it just helps strengthen not only their character and their confidence, but the community in general. And then just to kind of share briefly, and I'm almost finished, I appreciate the time. Next steps moving forward, we've had a couple of community board meetings, and again, community board are boots on the ground, helping us decide what we need to do moving forward for our community, a localized effect. It's really about focusing on what positive things are happening and helping to grow and support them. It is also about identifying risks that happen in our community, different risk factors. We know that from some of the data from the SHARP data that the schools work with us on, that a lot of kids suffer from depression and difficulties with mental health. So tapping them into resources, helping to reduce the stigma that even not only our youth, but also our dads, our farmers, our moms, everybody has options in our community for mental health services, and helping to normalize that it's okay to ask for that help when we need it. So moving forward, it's just building that coalition. We're in the process of putting together some bylaws, really fun, exciting stuff, creating a logo, officially, getting that name set in stone, and working on some structure to get some things going that way so that we can move forward looking at specific community data to look at risk factors and then other ways to grow more of the positive. And then just finishing up, here's my contact information. Cynthia has my slides, so you'll have access to that. But again, if you have suggestions, if you have concerns, if you can see projects or things that maybe we could incorporate into the work that we will be doing. It's kind of a slow process getting started. We all want to jump on the bandwagon and get started, but we want to lay a good foundation first too. But if you have thoughts or ideas, any suggestions for the Shine Your Light nominations, please feel free to reach out to me. And I can even share a list of the community members that are part of that. The mayor's completely aware of that as well, has been very supportive as well, and we appreciate that. So does anybody have any questions, concerns, any thoughts?
I have just a quick suggestion for when things get rolling. Let's get our Tremonton City Youth City Council to
Yes.
do some sort of a campaign around Grow the Positive. Let's
Okay.
get our youth involved with that one.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I did not touch on that, but this does have a component where we do want youth involvement, and that's a great question. Would you rather the Youth City Council be that connection with the other youth
Get you
in
in
the
touch with
community?
their advisor, and then you guys can work together and,
Yeah,
we can get you that information.
okay. Or would you feel
Alina?
like it might be a better fit to give other kids in the community that aren't connected, like,
That would be a good start. Maybe you can kind of go branch out from there, but
Okay.
it would certainly be a good start.
yeah, for sure.
And that's sort of their role is not so much just being involved in doing community service, but to be able to learn how to do leadership opportunities. And this
Yeah.
would certainly be
That's
a
great.
great leadership opportunity for
That's
them.
wonderful. And our governing youth council that's out here in the Tremonton area, that also works with the health department, they've been phenomenal. They have been the ones responsible for getting a lot of really great work done, even at the state level with state legislature. So we are so proud of the youth in our area, and that's a great suggestion. I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. I will get that information and move
Okay,
forward
I'll
on
get
that.
back with you on
They'll
that.
know how to do a social media campaign better
Oh,
than we do.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Any other questions?
Great idea.
Thank you for your time. I
Selena,
appreciate it.
appreciate your time. Okay, let's move on. Councilmember Rhodey asked if we could have more discussion on this ordinance, number 25-18, the temporary land use regulations and the general plan. And so for whatever time we need, we've got about 45 minutes. We can discuss, start the discussion here, and maybe with that, Brett, why don't I turn the time over to you, and you can kind of get the discussion rolling, and then I'm sure we'll have lots of questions and lots of comments regarding this, so.
Thank you. The most important thing is this is just on our workshop for discussion, period. No voting, no nothing. And so we're working this out together as a council. I gave you we had one in our packet, but this is one that, a new ordinance that's been put together. The language has changed dramatically. So I thought we would talk about that a little bit. But I have a PowerPoint I put up that I thought it'd be important to go through these points so people can understand what it is we're trying to do here. The general plan for all extensive purposes is a comprehensive plan, okay? Now, we in Tremonton City have one that it's labeled 2002. Don't let that mislead you too much. We have all of these other plans that you can see around here that drive the way the city works. And most of these plans are updated. Okay, it's the general plan that's labeled 2002, which is a comprehensive plan, that just needs a little bit of tweaking to support all of these other plans.
Brett, maybe I could add too that
Uh-huh.
we added a few that don't exist that are on there. The public safety and hazard mitigation is a new one that we want to get up there, right?
Yes, for sure.
And then the other one was the capital improvement plan, which we started last year but haven't finished. So for the most part, 2019 to 2025 are when all of those have been re-put back in place, with exception to public safety and capital improvement plan
Yep.
that don't exist.
So all of us went to a conference in Salt Lake this last week, and I talked to a lot of people about general plans and whatnot, and so it helped me a lot to kind of help bring this together so I could explain it to you guys and to the public. Okay, the next slide. So our growth challenges, Tremonton experienced a 6.16 annual population growth with a 42% increase since 2020. And we're projected to be at around 30,000 residents in 2050. Infrastructure and resource strain, we've heard a lot from Carl and from others about how the rapid growth and our current situation causes us some strife with outdated infrastructure. Rapid growth causes strain on water supply, infrastructure, and support services, challenging city management and planning. Community concerns. Residents worry about financial burdens, loss of small town identity, and threats to family values amid rapid expansion. Those are some of the concerns that have been brought up to us. And a need for a data-driven growth management, implementing a thoughtful data-driven pause in growth is essential to preserve Tremont's character and manage challenges effectively. So these are some of the challenges that we face. Next. So our plan from the 2002 to 2025 integration. Evolution of community vision. Community vision from 2002, focus on family values and small town goals needs to be was integrated in the 2023 land use plan, chapter 1. So a lot of the language that was in the 2002 was adopted into the land use plan. But sometimes they conflicted with each other, and so that's part of the reason we're having a little bit of heartache over the two different plans. Transportation plan updates. Transportation planning now includes a comprehensive streets network and LOSD standards and updates pending in 2025. Housing strategy progress. Housing strategies incorporate affordable housing plans aligned with HB 462, adopted in November of 2022, and new public safety component. Public safety is now included in this, on the wildfire of FEMA guidelines and scheduled for the fall 2025 inclusion. So this is what you had brought up. We need to make sure that we include public safety in this plan. This would include making sure we have enough police officers and fire and enough buildings and whatnot to help our city grow. So, okay, next. So the highlights of 2518. Section 2 enforces a pause on residential zone changes, limiting new rezones that increase density without specific exceptions. Okay. Section 3 mandates updates to the general plan emphasizing family values, sustainability, and public safety with hazard mitigation strategies. Integrated planning efforts. The ordinance requires alignment with Transportation Master Plan, Capital Improvement Plan, Annexation Plan, and interlocal agreements. So it pulls our plans together. And ordinance duration and process. The ordinance lasts 180 days with possible extensions and features on clear process for zoning pauses to sustain growth values updates. Now, and remember, this says that, let's say we get together and we get this plan all put together in 2 months and the city council adopts it, then we can stop this ordinance and we can move on. So it's up to 180 days. If we need to extend, we can. But when I was talking to Jeff and a few others this week, we're not a long ways off from getting this put together. And we've got a lot of resources that can help us, including some possible grants that can help us get through this. A full-bore general plan would cost us up to $120,000. We don't need a full-bore plan. Okay, we have one in place. We just need to tweak it a bit. And so I'm sure that the cost would be dramatically less than that. So, okay, next. So here's kind of what we're talking about. Adopt an ordinance, launch public engagement initiatives, and complete the 2025 general plan by Q2 2026. Long-term benefits: achieve sustainable growth, preserve rural charm, and align planning documents for sufficient service delivery. And a long-term benefit too is we bring the public in and we gain more trust from them. Community empowerment: strong recommendation to approve ordinance to protect resources and involve residents in the planning. So I believe that's it, is it not? Yep. So with that with that PowerPoint out of the way, the ordinance asks us to pause And I think this is in section 3. Section 2B, applications for subdivisions. These are the applications not affected, so it's probably in 1. Oh, 2A, applications subject to regulation, petitions or applications for amendments to the official zoning map, rezones, that propose or permit any residential use or increase residential density. So that's what would be paused. Now, as we discussed in our last one, this would not touch any kind of commercial, multi-use zones, or other things that we're working on right now that we really should not touch, because we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we've done a lot of work with Main Street. Jeff's doing a lot of work with other zoning practices in commercial, and so we still need to keep moving forward with that.
Actually, I have a question on this.
Yes.
I don't know the answer. On A1, what would be the impact of a PUD? Does that mean a PUD is still applicable to the current zoning that it's been granted? I don't know the answer. I just thought of that.
I believe, and Jeff, you'll need to jump in on this, but I believe that a PUD is not calling for a rezone.
Oh,
It's
but
just,
it has sections about bonus density, so that's what I'm just asking for, right? Because that is in a PUD, and I just want to make sure that we're clear that that is applicable there.
so what would you suggest on that?
Don't know.
What would you guys
I'm
suggest?
thinking out loud. That's why we have workshops, right? So,
Will this impact,
I think the PUD ordinance would stand. It still has to be approved.
What's that, Jeff?
I would think the PUD stands where it's its own chapter of zoning ordinance,
Yeah,
and we can always outline like where the bonus densities came in for and like what is allowing for it.
because I think we're still accomplishing the objective, which is the base level density, and that's what this is about, is keeping base level density at the right spot.
Correct. And moving forward, PUD will always play into a zone, even if the zone remains the same,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for clarity.
On 2B, applications not affected, applications for subdivisions, conditional use permits, building permits, or other development approvals that are fully compliant with the city's zoning maps and ordinances as of the date of this ordinance.
would this impact if somebody were to be annexing property into, what we're really talking about here are changes to current zoning ordinances. And so, but if somebody were to annex a parcel in, that really is not, does that apply to 2B?
Well, it does, because annexation is a whole set, yes, it does. It applies to
Annexation
2B,
would be-
it's an exception. We can still move forward with annexations if that's what we choose to do. And zone them.
We can still, okay, that was my question, okay, thank you.
So I got a question. And I can see that the plan needs to be tweaked and done, but don't we vote on the annexation? So what's the purpose of putting the pause on it? I don't understand that,
Well, I think it's,
if we do anyway.
we're talking about,
Explain
we're
that.
talking about zoning changes here, aren't we?
Right.
So.
But don't we have to vote on a zoning change?
Yeah,
One of the purposes is it will give the planning commission and Jeff some time to work on this and take some of that off of their plate for 6 months. And that's important because they're getting hammered with all kinds of zoning changes, all kinds of wanting to develop on their plate. And so I'm trying to give them some time to work on this. And if we take that off
And
their
that's a
plate,
better answer for me.
yeah,
That's the first I heard that. It just seems like we're already doing this at different levels, so I thought,
yeah. And the planning commission and the planner and the citizens are the one that are going to put this together. Okay, they're the ones that's going to work on this. I'd like to give them some time to work on it.
Don't that seem like a long time, 6 months?
Up to 6 months.
Up to 6 months, but if they got done sooner, we can be done.
Right.
So,
But would it get drug out till the
Take
fifth
all-
month and then jammed? That to me seems like a long time to,
Well, and
hell, I
it
could
is
go maybe
potential.
90 days, which would maybe put a fire underneath whoever.
Well, then you have you know, if you needed more time, it's written in there that you can go up
But you can
to a
extend.
year, extend up to a year.
I just think 6 months is a long time to,
Well, for tweaking the general plan, yeah.
If we go
Jeff, why don't you come over here so people can hear what you have to say?
Looking at UDOT's technical assistance program, the funding wouldn't come to us, so, oh, hi, Craig. Hi. The, the process for getting UDOT's technical assistance program is that we would have to submit the project to them just to get it on their radar, by the end of the month, which I can easily do. Then the application is due by December, which is still a very attainable timeline. The challenge then is if it gets awarded, they don't give us the funds until July. And so if we were gonna use their technical assistance program, like to fund part of this, and from research that Kim at Public Works gave is that most of the time the assistance is about $50,000 to $60,000, which I think we could get the general plan update done in that with the scope that Brett and Bo have both kind of given me, that it's less of an entire rework and more of just an update due to generally that it's time to update it, that it's been 23 years and scope of it is changed. So 6 months isn't very long if I'm doing this by myself, but it also isn't long enough if we're gonna try and go after UDOT's funding. Really the only funding source we have for grants for this kind of plan update. So.
and we were talking, and Jeff kind of felt like the zones, the rezoning is something that could be stretched out for 6 months without much of a heartache on him.
Yeah, I mean, really too, and because the PUD is still there, it gives us an avenue that if somebody's looking for base density to either help with some capital infrastructure, or some open space and whatnot, that still gives us an avenue to help with a little bit of density, but it's not to the point of having to come in and rezone, in order to get more units to do more. So, I don't mind this approach, with some of the clarifications that I've had with Brett and Bo. In terms of the timeline, it just depends on kind of how quick we want it done. If it's something we want just, me and the planning commission to work on, I probably can have it done in 6 months, knowing that the next couple, we start getting a little, our meetings start going to once a month instead of twice a month. So to be able to get the planning commission involved is gonna just kind of slow down through the holidays. But I think we can still have it done in that 6 month time frame as we update the general plan. If we're hoping to get some, if we're trying to get some help and some support, and look at having someone like Landmark Design help us, then it pushes the timeline out to hoping we can get UDOT's grant, to fund that, or we end up having to have it as part of the adopted budget.
Which I personally think is really critical because of the public input feedback loop, right? Through a professional company to do that, so that we're not guessing on the questions to ask, right? Let's let the professionals help us with the public feedback part of that, which is critical to all of this, right? So I think we need to
And the other thing,
involve professionals there.
yeah, the other thing that's going to help a little bit with this is too, it will help us fine tune our transportation plan a little bit more and also our land use plan. Now, granted, our land use plan was put together, but public input was put together through the time period of COVID. And so we didn't really get a lot of good input. It was more like survey over the phone with your masks on and all that. And granted, most people and the person that helped put that together said that it would be nice to take some time to update that land use plan with better input from the public, so.
So the timeline that I feel this works out well for this is that here shortly, we're going to start updating our annexation policy plan because of landowners that are wishing to develop within Tremont City. And so we're going to start with that, and I'm hoping it'll be done in January or February. After that, we can always try to work on the general plan before then, maybe start doing some strategy sessions. I would personally, if we're gonna get into all this planning, I'd love to create kind of a planning advisory committee that would act less like a steering committee that may take over the project, but just some citizens that'd be willing to help and engage, help be kind of a bridge between the planning department thank you, and the residents, just to help with any kind of document preps, any kind of data gathering from how other cities have done it. If that's the case, then I'd start the general plan update probably at the beginning of the year. And then once the general plan's done, start into the integrated land use plan update. Now that we've updated the boundary we need to set a vision for, we've updated the guiding document that is gonna steer the vision. And then we could dive into the integrated land use plan update that would talk about, the new areas in the annexation boundary.
And that funding could really help us
The
accomplish a
funding
lot
could
of
help
that.
With that a lot. So
Yeah, it'd
But
be
can I
really
make a
nice.
suggestion? I'm all for this, but also, I understand where Blair's coming from and Wes and others. What if we were to change the wording a little bit, instead give this a 6-month proposal with the option to vote on this again in 6 months, rather than just say if they're not done in 6 months, then they can extend. That,
I think it does call it out that way.
okay,
It goes for 6 months, and then we have to bring it back to the table in
Just the
6
city
months to
council
decide where
may
we're gonna go.
extend this regulation
Yeah, it could, yeah,
So-
you may extend it.
with
for
public notice.
Yeah, so,
So it sounds like
that's already written.
it currently sounds like, to me, that reads that
Public
it
notice and
terminates
hearing
in 6
required.
months
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unless otherwise
you-
voted
unless you
upon.
wanna
Exactly.
go through, Yeah.
yeah.
So what kind of timeframe, in terms of funding? I'm hearing, that it could take up to, several months before we'd be able to get any funding on this. My question is, do we, that puts things out there maybe till summer next year, before we even get any funding. So what is the plan? I mean, if we were to put a pause on things today, we were looking at not having any funding for quite some time. I'm just wondering how that works out.
I mean, honestly, I think we've had 5 rezone applications this year, and most of them have been on parcels that are relatively small. I mean, in 5 acres or less. So this isn't a huge, this doesn't really cause that many things to stall, but I like the idea that it communicates clearly that until we get some planning done and we get the publics involved, that we're gonna just kind of stick to the base map. And it does, like Brett said, it will give us a little bit of time to take a breath and say, okay, in the development world, 6 months, especially the next 6 months where you're talking Q4 and Q1, that's a really slow time guarded by what are we gonna be paving this year? So if there isn't and what where you said, like, this is, subdivision applications could still come in as long as they meet the current zoning requirements. There's still a lot of development that could happen.
Sounds to me like things move on. We're not going to pause a lot. What we're doing is we're pausing the zoning changes
Yeah.
For residential.
for residential.
So, which I wanted
But
to
that-
point out from last week's meeting, I appreciate Brett, tabling and being
Yeah.
willing to consider those, the industrial things, the impact that was gonna have on economic development. So thank you for,
Yeah.
making those adjustments and then the RDA zoning things that we're doing with, the potential for facade grants. And that's all been kind of stripped away so that we're not shackling ourselves in trying to accomplish something. So
Yeah, that's
appreciate
good
you
to
guys
hear.
making those
Want to make sure
adjustments.
we have that language when we go back through to do the finals on that.
Just my last question,
Residential.
Oh, yeah, it's in this
spell
new
all
one.
that out,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen if we don't get the funding? Where are we gonna come up with that money for it?
Well, we'll know before July whether or not we've likely gotten the grant. And so as we get into budget talks in the next 6 months, 9 months, turn of the year, when we start doing the budgeting, we'll have an idea whether or not we're getting that grant funding. And that'll be a discussion to be had on what is the planning department's budget to go through with this. And I can work with Lindsay on what our procurement policy is to update this plan if it's something we can work with Landmark Design to do, where they've already done 3 of our master plans that feed into the general plan, or if it's something we need to prepare a formal request for proposals for and evaluate it that way. So that's something that Lindsay and I can start working on this month and have an answer back for the council, because I'm sure neither of us have that answer off the top of our heads right now.
I'm still kind of a little bit, maybe I haven't had the question answered, at least maybe to my satisfaction. If we're looking at, funding is going to be very important. So let's just say the next council meeting, we adopt this and we put the pause
Yeah.
on zoning changes and that kind of thing. Are we looking at do we just sit on our hands and not do anything between now and July? Or are we pursuing somehow to get the document put together so we can,
Well,
how does that work?
what I can do is between now and the next council meeting is I can prepare us like a scope of what I feel is in line with this pause. But I would likely be communicating to go and get bids, if we were gonna go out and get proposals for it. And run that by, I'll take some time with Lindsay to look at the procurement policy and say, okay, based on this, that the council was pretty okay with, if we start this pause, here's the scope of work we're looking to bid out. And what would it cost us? And that's likely the scope I would send to UDOT by the end of the month to just put it on their timeframe. And we can start having, because that'll be, that still gives me 10 days between the end of council meeting and Halloween, if there needs to be any edits, so that I can get that onto UDOT's radar by the end of the month.
So I got another question. How does this, can you answer to me how this would impact, how this would have an economic impact?
I don't think it'll have much of one. It's really just a break to, so all of our ongoing developments could still come in for final plat and keep moving forward. Any annexation that needs to happen, whether it's industrial or residential, could still put in petitions to be done. It's really just a pause that says we aren't gonna make any zoning changes for our residential zones until we get some of these plans updated. And with as much growth as that's projected, I really don't mind taking 6 to 9 months to get some of this figured out and get the public involved. So that we can, one, set a better vision of that hopefully lasts. This one's looking at 23 years that we've been working off of, so great. If that can lead us through 2045. And we set that vision and we work out that, you know, how this city kind of wants to grow in the next 20 years. It'll give me some direction in what to talk with developers. And then once the pause is lifted, I have some changes to the residential code that I can present during this general plan update and the integrated land use plan that says, this is how I think it'll help the vision is we set that and I can make changes to that going like through this process. And then once this is lifted, that might be one of the first steps out of it is we lift this rezone moratorium and after updating the industrial and the commercial codes and the mixed use, we go through this planning stage and we can update the residential code changes to help steer this vision that we set as a staff with the public and with the council.
And so along with that, you know, he may come back and say, to do what we want to do, it's going to cost us $50,000. Okay. Well, at that point, we're going to have to make the commitment. We're going to spend $50,000 to get this done. Now, it may be that the grant will come in and say, hey, we'll cover 45,000 of that. Well, great. They cover it. But we're going to need to be able to make the commitment that we're committed to making this change and spend the money to do so.
I was not trying to, you know, I'm just kind of fishing for other funding opportunities is what I was trying to do. You know, and if there are other, you know, I know that
I could look at,
there may be some other opportunities.
I could look
that
at
we need to
Bragg
address.
and USDA as well
Yeah.
and see what grants are out there. I just, I think UDOT normally allocates between $1 million and $1.5 million every year for their technical assistance. And so
That was-
they say general plans is one of the things they are very willing to cover. And I think the updates to the general plan then could go back through and we could work with they changed their name, but the consulting group that did our transportation master plan, if we feel like there's something out of order, we could just see what it'd take to modify those changes and,
So you want new grant options to look into?
yeah, we can look into them. So
So could you go back to my very first slide? What I wanted to do in just a quick summary and then any questions you may have, but what's important about this plan is that it brings all of these plans together under one umbrella. And part of the plan needs to also include in it what plan needs to be updated and when. And so there needs to be a timeline, if you will, a strategy built into the general plan that says, okay, every so often we're going to take care of we'll go back and reevaluate the parks plan. And so all that will be called out. And then that in itself will cause us to do annual audits of the general plan so that it can continue to be organic and grow.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it exciting.
well, and one of the changes that I think would be helpful is for the general plan to call out what these plans are and where they're normally called, because when I emailed half of them to Bo and he asked and I'm like, here, and like we had the plans and most of them was in our impact fee analysis and studies. And so to have communicated in the general plan, you can find this information here.
Yep.
Would even just help be a roadmap so that if someone's reading through it, they know what to go look for and where
That was
it is.
why I put this together, just for clarity's sake for all of us. Because, you know, I think a lot of us were under the assumption that we were operating from 2002 and, you know, a lot of the feedback I'm getting from citizens is likewise, where realistically inside that 2002 plan, it started with vision and guiding principles, but then, you know, the next paragraph was the land use element. Well, we technically in 2023 adopted an integrated land use plan that superseded, and so it replaced the 2002 map, integrated land use. So I just used, you know, created this as kind of a guide for where are we today? Since we don't have the one general plan, the oldest document is technically 2019. And so that is good news that, you know, things like infrastructure right now, we don't need to be as concerned about these current developments going through, because we know that the level of service, and in 2001, we had extensive surveys on all of our impact fees and, you know, the levels of service standards and all of that. And we're not approving anything that doesn't meet those standards, right? So anyway, hopefully this helps with where we're at today with what documents, so that if you get a question, you can refer back. You know, if it's economic development, you know that on 2019, we did one, it's there, you can go find it online. And then some of the notes for additions that we plan on making on the right-hand side were some of the things that we talked about, so.
And what's been fun and exciting about this is we're all working together. You know,
Yep.
we've been working with Jeff, we're working with you guys, we're working with the public. It's just really, it's been a fun process. Is there anything you guys would like to see me add or change to this, or any concerns so that,
The explicit part about economic development, or, you know, I just think that we need to make sure that that is not hindered in some way. We trip and have something in there that is going to cause.
yeah, and I think we've been very careful of that
Trying
one.
to get the public input.
These,
Because I think I just think some of the town halls and that, we get kind of a one side to the story thing. I guess some people, obviously, if they don't come, they don't get their thing on there. But since the Main Street thing, I've got more phone calls in since I've been city council about that. So that's what I'm saying, is
were they
maybe the surveys
positive
are
or
a good
negative or
way.
both?
I think the survey would be, I think you talked to Ron, didn't you?
these guys that are gonna do this for a profession, they know how to hit the right groups, they know how to separate it out and get the right information back and give us very good statistics. And so it won't be run by any of us, it'll be run by a group that knows how to do surveys
But
and how to
you know
get the
what I'm
information.
saying is
I
make
do.
sure We get everybody's
think-
opinion, not,
Extremely inclusive, right?
yeah.
I think we likely, as I've been observing over the past, I don't know, however long I've worked here, I think the process that's gonna work well for the city is that we would have like a kickoff town hall, that we'd be able to open it up and to the public, and that would be the date that the survey opens, so we could notify them. We could even have QR codes there that would link to the survey, be able to ask them and get some paper feedback. We would take that, work on it, and then towards the end, have another showcase like we did with Main Street, help answer, show how we address those comments. So to me, that would give us a time to gather public info in two ways. For those that like QR codes and surveys, great. For those that may want to do it either verbal or in writing, go in, let us work on it, and then have a showcase to present. And that's the one reason I wanted to start this advisory committee is I thought the one thing that really helped the showcase for Main Street go well is how many people were there to answer questions. And it wasn't just, you know, me and Landmark and our city engineer asking and 3 people going, yeah, here, let's answer questions. It was 10 of us. And so that would be the process I would recommend we take, and something I could write into the RFP if we have to formally put this out in a proposal.
And I think that's a good point. The Citizen Advisory Committee would help give us that, a little bit of that.
Just gotta
Oh,
make
as you
sure
will.
we get a rounded view of
Exactly.
Main Street thing, what you think went well, Eric phone call, it wasn't well. So I'm just saying you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, make sure there's not bias in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor, we better take a break
We
before
could,
we.
Okay,
we
let's,
could get
uh,
Brigham
let-
City to pay for it.
Yeah, there we go.
Can I express
we can give it a
one
shot.
small concern? It's just a quick one. The only concern that I have left would be the general plan update requirements, which ones we actually require. Getting the general plan up to date, the vision, and then rather than the outcome of the full, you know, public safety and hazard mitigation, including safety, like the whole study, the way I'm reading this, that whole study has to be done before this could be lifted. Rather, I'd like to see it on a timeline scheduled that we're going to do it. I think that's kind of what we had talked about, because otherwise if we did that whole list, we might be 5 years
Right.
before we actually could accomplish that list.
Yeah, so more or less, so the plan points to,
Exactly.
the public safety one,
Yeah.
and even with that not being done yet, at least we should have an idea of when
Standard,
we're going
yeah,
to get it
yeah.
done. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and take a pause right now. We'll try to start our policy session at 7 o'clock.
Lindsay, do you guys have any drink?